Do you think you're the one in charge of your health? For most of us, the answer is no. It's the people who control the information we receive who really are. Powerful forces are at work to influence the information we receive. And it's the information we receive that frames the way we see the world around us. These forces are now heavily influencing what we receive and share from social media platforms. Let's dig in and look at an example of how this all works. Keto diets and intermittent fasting have helped millions around the world to get healthier and tackle metabolic diseases like type 2 diabetes or obesity. But it's not great for business. There are no pills or potions needed, as it's mainly about changing what, when, and how you eat. As it's such an effective strategy for so many people, it's been easy to search the internet and find quality information from expert doctors and practitioners on channels like YouTube. Experts who've had years of experience working with thousands of people and transforming their health. This all changed in August 2023 when YouTube changed its medical misinformation policy. Since this policy was launched, when you run a search on keto diets or intermittent fasting, you'll now find very few of the real experts listed among your top hits. These have been replaced with videos from people who can't be regarded as real experts, dishing out poor quality information. You'll also find many videos that are extremely critical of keto diets. YouTube's new medical misinformation policy is geared towards disallowing content around the prevention or treatment of disease that isn't in line with national authorities like the National Institutes of Health and the World Health Organization. Put simply, any information outside of mainstream medical approaches, which are largely determined by pharmaceutical interests, is becoming harder to share and promote. The approach being used isn't outright censorship that involves removal of content or deplatforming of account holders. It's far more subtle, and it has a name. It's called shadow banning. So, what is shadow banning and how widespread is it? It's everywhere. That's what researchers are finding, such as those at the Center for Democracy and Technology, a U.S.-based, nonpartisan 501c3 nonprofit, which published a detailed report and review of literature on the subject in April 2022. A Wisconsin bill passed in 2021 defined shadow banning like this. Shadow ban means to limit or eliminate the exposure of a user or content or material posted by a user to other users of the social media internet site through any means, regardless of whether the action is determined by an individual or an algorithm, and regardless of whether the action is readily apparent to a user. Some of the deprioritization that takes place with shadow bans can be so severe, it's functionally equivalent to removing it from the internet entirely. The heart of the problem is that it's often impossible to tell if content has been deliberately deprioritized because the content doesn't align with the social media service provider's chosen values, or if other users are genuinely just not interested in it. And that's the whole point. It seems you're meant to just give up, offer different content, or go away if you're just not getting the hits you used to get. That's presumably why YouTube started shadow banning information about keto diets and intermittent fasting. If you make scientifically supported claims that keto diets and intermittent fasting can help overcome different health conditions, YouTube can say that you've violated their medical misinformation policy and feel justified in setting its AI-informed robots onto you. Big Social isn't the only party trying to control how the public feels about keto diets and intermittent fasting. Attacks are also coming from doctors and special interests. You might ask why. Whenever you see something being demonized, chances are there's some new technology waiting in the wings they want to drive public demand towards. What's increasingly clear is that some of the attacks on keto diets, meat consumption, and livestock farming of any type, even regenerative farming, are being driven by interest to see a future in which lab-grown meat has become the new normal. This vision is about seeing bioreactors rather than grazing livestock as the source of your animal protein, all so that we can ostensibly save the planet from impending disaster. and ignoring the mounting scientific evidence that tells us it's industrial-scale factory farming systems, not the animals themselves, that are the big contributor to the destruction of our soils and the natural environment. The drive against keto and meat eating towards fake, cell-based meat comes with no long-term evidence that eating fake meat is safe for humans, or that increasing intensive grain, seed, and nut production in agriculture is going to be better for the planet. The Eat Lancet Commission was a recent scientific initiative that offered us the so-called planetary health diet. This diet proposes we eat exceedingly small amounts of meat, around 1/6 of a hamburger or 1/4 of a piece of bacon, and only 1/4 of an egg daily. When we analyzed the 2019 Lancet paper that proposed the diet, we found it demonized meat on weak and confused scientific grounds. Listed among Eat Lancet's partners were the pharma giant Novo Nordisk and the food giant Nestle. As megacorporations like Nestle wrestle with their net zero commitments and build their green credentials, the lab-grown meat sector is getting all the investment it needs to grow. The way it works is these big corporations are looking to merge with or acquire newly spun out biotech innovators that have the potential to scale up their technology. In the process, it's helpful to see the competition being made to look unattractive. And this now means attacking real food, including livestock from regenerative farming systems, and healthy ways of eating like intermittent fasting. Billionaires and other special interests are investing huge amounts of money into plant-based and lab-grown meat. These interests are involved in projects that set dietary recommendations for millions of people. And those recommendations are increasingly cutting out meat, saturated fat, and other key components of real food and keto diets, while leaving in 800 calories of grains, 7.5 teaspoons of sugar, and far too much refined seed oil. On top of that, social media companies are making it ever harder for proponents of healthy, natural keto diets to get the word out. So what do we do about it? You can start by sharing this video among your network to help increase awareness of the issue. You can also sign the petition included in the notes below. We're targeting 1 million+ signatures so that we can accomplish 3 main things. First, we want to force YouTube to change its medical misinformation policy so that health information isn't just limited to the narrow confines of what so-called local authorities and the WHO decide. Second, we'll be lobbying the likes of Google, YouTube, and Facebook to get them to be more transparent about the algorithms and other processes they use to moderate content. And third, let's not forget our elected representatives. We're going to be lobbying politicians to make sure free speech in science isn't cut off at the knees by special interests. Let's help make social media what it originally set out to be: a network of online platforms that allow users to create, share, and exchange content with other users that operate in the interest of the people, not corporations or governments. This requires that they emerge from the shadows, embrace the principles of free speech, and be overt and transparent over their policies and mechanisms of editorial control.